Hi, I'm Roxy Rose, and this is another edition of Crazy Roxy's Transition. Um, well, hopefully not crazy anymore. Hopefully, because I've been able to transition, hopefully I'll lose the crazy part. But anyways, today I want to talk to you a little bit about hormones, and in particularly do-it-yourself hormones. Um, this is going to be one of those cases of do as I say, not as I do. Unfortunately and somewhat regrettably, I was self-dosing for quite some time. I was transgender from a very young age. I'm 49 now. And probably 20 years ago when I first started taking some hormones. And I didn't know what to take. I just knew that I needed to. So when I could, I would steal birth control pills or even my mom's pills that she was taking for menopause. And I didn't really know what I was taking. I just knew I had to take these things. So I want you to know that this is not an instructional video of how to do it yourself. I'm trying to advise you not to do it yourself and really go see a counselor, get the prescription, see a doctor. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of doctors out there that like to treat transsexuals. There's all these family practitioners that just, want the cold and flu, something they're completely not responsible for, to just come and go out of their office, give them a few shots or a prescription and send them on their way. But being a transsexual and trying to get help and health care means that the physician actually has to use his head and crack a book once in a while or something like that, look up information, which they never like to do. So I found that very true in my case. They just don't want to mess with you. So as I said, as long ago as like 20 years, I started to play around with hormones, mostly in the form of birth control pills, which are very mixed up dosages. Some birth control pills work on the principle of extremely high amounts of progesterone, and some birth control pills work with a combination, and then there's all these different balances that are meant to be birth control pills. They're not meant to help you transition. And then also there's a lot of overseas companies that you could buy hormones from, and without a prescription even. And you could self-medicate that way, and I don't recommend that either. I have been part of the transgender community for a couple of years now, and I've learned a lot of transgender people do self-medicate because there's several reasons, and a lot of it is because of their embarrassment, and they don't want to go see a counselor, and they don't want to get that prescription that they need. So then they go offshore and order these companies out of the country, order the prescriptions from different countries, and they self-medicate. And a lot of times, and what I've heard many times, is that transgender women and men will take high doses of hormones, and they think that they're healthy or something like that, and they think that they could handle it, and they're so panicked to transition that they usually take really large dosages. I even was guilty of that myself. But I want to tell you a little bit about high dosages of hormones. There's a couple of hormones to be concerned about. It's not just estrogen. It's just not testosterone blockers such as spirolactane, and it's not just progesterone that you have to take to be successful in transition. And taking too much is a very bad thing. Not only is it very hard on your system, and it could be very hard on your liver depending on the type of delivery method of the hormones, but A lot of transgender women and men aren't aware of this, but hormones can cascade into other hormones. Very detrimental to a trans woman, let's say, because progesterone could actually cascade, which means that your body will, if there's too much of it present, your body will convert it to another hormone. And with progesterone, it could be turned into testosterone. Terrible. And DHEA, also another hormone, can also cascade into testosterone. And so by taking large amounts, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. And I learned this myself. I was taking progesterone, and I was lucky enough to have not too much body hair, and my body hair was fairly light. So when I did go on hormones, most of it just went away, which was very lucky for me. I know there's a lot of trans women out there that aren't so lucky. But then I wasn't taking progesterone at the time, and then I decided that I should add that to my hormone regime. And I took too much, thinking I'd get more breast development. Oh, these are implants. They're not due to, well, I had a fair amount of breast tissue. That's a different story. But anyways, yes, they are implants. But I was taking progesterone thinking I wanted to hurry up the process. I took a little bit too much. And I noticed my body hair come back. Horrible, horrible, depressing thing for a trans woman to go through. And I had no idea what was going on. I thought maybe my body was just rejecting the hormones or not using them properly. But what was happening is the progesterone was cascading down into and turning back into testosterone. So you have to be very careful. There is a book that I read that's really helpful, and it's HRT Solution, you know. It's for women, but it talks a lot about hormones, and even though we're trans women, it's very useful, and it'll teach you a lot about hormones. And a lot of things that I learned are, you know, about blood tests and hormone levels. What I learned is that a saliva test is much better than a blood test, because the saliva is the saliva test is testing the hormones of you that day right then, whereas a blood test, by the time the hormones get into your blood, circulate throughout your body and everything, it's kind of giving you a delayed or erroneous reading of what the hormones are in your system. So saliva test is more effective, but then trying to find a physician that will agree to a saliva test or have any part of it is kind of difficult or darn near impossible. But you could get saliva tests for hormones through mail order in the United States. You know, there's no law against having your hormones tested, and there's a lot of companies that do that. You look up on the internet, and so you could get your saliva test. You know, you don't want to do it every week, but you might want to do it as you're cycling your hormones, if you do cycle progesterone. And, you know, test yourself a week after. If you give yourself an injection, test yourself a week after the injection. Test yourself a couple days after the injection. At first, it's a bit costly to test yourself often. The saliva tests, depending on how many tests you have them run, could cost anywhere from $50 to $250. But it's important that you test your saliva and your hormone levels during different times of your when you administer your hormones. And then after a while, you don't have to test them so often anymore, because you'll figure out that, well, after my injection, 3 days after my injection is the peak of my estrogen level, and then it drops off for the next 3 or 4 days. And everybody is different. Everybody's different. That's also one of the problems that us trans women have is, you know, you go into a physician, and if you're lucky enough to find one that will treat a trans woman, they're basically going to give you a dose of estrogen, viral octane, or something similar, and send you on your way. And everybody is different. you know, even being genetically male at birth, you have estrogen in your body that's produced, and you know, everybody produces at different levels, and then everybody metabolizes their hormones at different levels, and especially those that are athletes. You know, it's very difficult to keep that in check, because you know, even if you had an orchiectomy, that, you know, you could still have, you know, imbalance in hormones if you work out a lot. Women even have that problem. You know, if they're athletes, they will have an abundance of testosterone in their systems. So be on the safe side. Don't self-medicate. And I know that's, again, I'm saying, you know, do as I say, not as I do. But really, you don't realize the trouble you can get into. And like I said, you could shoot yourself in the foot and be causing yourself to have too much testosterone. And God knows a trans woman doesn't want anything to do with testosterone. So be informed. And actually, you know, after reading this book, and reading as much information as I could, I ended up finding a physician that, well, basically, you know, I came into the physician's office, and after he gave me, you know, a clean bill of health, we discussed hormone therapy, and, you know, I knew more about it than he did. So basically, he let me run the show. You know, I told him how much to make the prescriptions out, and how much that I needed, and then I took the tests, etc. And you know, basically I read the blood tests and told him what was acceptable and what wasn't, and you know, I went and got the saliva tests and did it that way. But like I said, you know, don't do it yourself, and I know it's difficult. That first step is always hard, to agree to go to a counselor, and then, you know, the one problem that trans women and trans men have is that they're afraid that the psychologist is going to say, no hormones for you. That's our worst fear. And I'm here to tell you, and I've talked to a lot, that doesn't happen. Really, it doesn't. I mean, there may be a rare case, and then find yourself another psychologist. They're there to help, and usually by, you know, if you take that first step, that's a huge step, and they know it, and they take you seriously, and they're not going to say, no, sorry, you can't have hormones. So go to a psychologist and get that letter that you need, and then go to a physician and be supervised, and be smart, and be informed on any medical issues, whether they be transsexual related or transgender related or anything. Always be informed, and don't rely on physicians who are there, that sometimes are just you know, punching the clock every day and can't wait to get home and away from all their patients, and can't take the time to spend time, especially with us crazy transsexuals. So so this has been Roxy Rose, a little bit on hormones, and it's not meant to be an instructional video, except the one instruction is, go see a psychologist. Do this right, okay? You could take that, and that's your instruction, okay? This has been fun. I hope it's a little informative to some of you. I know I have to talk fast because I just love to gab, and I go overtime all the time. I just make these videos way too long, don't I? Anyways, it's been fun, and I'll see you on another video. Bye-bye.